Are y'all by any chance familiar with something called a point of contention? To me, what that term means is you and I were having this nice little conversation, and we get to a particular subject that we see differently, and we can't agree upon it. You seem unwilling to let it rest that I have a point that is valid, and I seem to let it rest that you have a point that is valid. And we don't say, yes, I understand how you came to this conclusion. However, I disagree. And then you also say, I understand your point as well, and I understand how you came to that, but I don't agree either with what you say. The point of contention. And in some cases, it's so strong that we can no longer be friends. Which is a shame. Because, take for example, I don't even want to use the preppers. No, I'm going to use the preppers. Take for example the preppers. Something's wrong right now. Something's wrong with the economy. Whether it's a recession or just not enough jobs or just something in the air. Something's wrong. There's people that don't have a job that want to work, and there's businesses that are running. It just doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem like things are abundant as they should be, and just something's not right. Preppers pick up on this. Everybody in our little group picks up on this. But we get to a certain point of contention to where we may agree 90% of the time on how we need to be self-reliant, how we need to be self-sufficient. Then we get to a particular point, and then you know what? We dig our heels in on both sides, and it doesn't matter. Now these people are a-holes because they feel a certain way. These other people are a-holes because they don't see things a certain way. I'll use an example for that. The imminent collapse of the dollar. Keyword, imminent. The imminent collapse of the economy. The imminent collapse. I don't agree with that. I don't feel that an economic collapse is imminent just because a paper currency is only known to last for 40 years before it turns over or rolls over. I ask the question, why? Why does it have to be after 40 years? Oh, just because it's been 40 years? Is it because at 40 years, debts payable always equal a certain amount? Can you compare the current time and the current economy that we're in right now with the technology and the products to what we had 40 years ago? Let's see, what was 40 years ago? Early 1970s, okay? In 1971, can you compare the products of 1971 to the products of 2011? I say no. When you got people that have very little money that still find a way to buy a $1,000 computer, I don't think people necessarily bought the same stuff in the same way. So I don't know about that being an automatic comparison. Now, my opinion too is biased, because it's not lip service when I tell you that I cannot emphasize how greatly I do not want a collapse to occur. And so what ends up being the case is somebody who says something about the collapse occurring, and I see them shoring themselves up for that. If I'm not careful, then I assume that person wants to see that fall. They figure they're sitting pretty, and they want to try their hand at it, regardless of the suffering. And heck, in some cases, these people seem to want to have the persons that they deem as ignorant be punished. You're just not paying enough attention, you're busy watching TV, so you know what, you deserve the suffering that you'll get from what's happened. I personally don't like that, and it's something that I don't know. It just doesn't jive with me. Although I understand where people come to their conclusions about a possible economic collapse. However, there's no particular precedence for it. You take a $14 trillion debt, where for some reason, even though there's all of this accounts payable out there, people are still willing to shake their ass for $1. Even though we're 14 trillion in a hole, people are still willing to shake their ass for $1. And what's the limit? For some reason, because we've never seen 14 trillion, it's going to happen at 15 trillion or 20 trillion. I don't dig when somebody doesn't know and they're not willing to say so. If you want to say, listen, there's an unprecedented debt of 14 trillion, and I don't think it's cool because that means that somewhere somebody could demand 14 trillion of our productivity and we'd have to do it, or else. I can understand that point. What I don't understand that point is when we say, well, we got a $14 trillion debt, it's imminent, fiat currencies fail every 40 years, because I say so, and it's just going to happen. And what we neglect when we say those types of blanket statements are, hey, listen, we got a $14 trillion deficit, but what money is owed to us? Is it we owe out 14 trillion and nobody owes us money? Or is it we owe out 14 trillion, the rest of the world owes us 13 million, or sorry for this slip. You understand what I mean. The rest of the world, say, owes us 13 trillion, we're out 14 trillion, and we're floating around in this particular debt exchange where it isn't necessarily a matter of time before we default. These are just all things to consider, and I want to say the last few videos from Silver Futurist have really touched me as far as the points that he's made about disagreement and the importance of information. And in this particular time of friends and fellow countrymen in want is not a time for us to be divided. Instead of looking at our differences, we can start from our common bond.